All right, grown black folks talk on the climb again. Yeah, I'm back out here in the park, standing in front of one of my favorite things. There's very little in the world prettier than trees and the new spring green. I just love it. Spring is coming, y'all. Now what? I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago. We were talking about how something that we don't talk about often enough, freedom and responsibility go together. And if you don't have one, you don't have the other. Now, we think of that in terms of freedom being the most important thing. And of course, I'm not here to argue with that at all. But I don't think we realize how much responsibility it takes to actually be free and maintain it. Our ancestors had only one responsibility: stay alive 13 generations, do the work they had to do, that they were forced to do unjustly. But food, clothes, and shelter was provided by everybody else. They didn't have to think about that. The minute our ancestors became free, we had to provide that for ourselves. You know, the freedom to survive. And if you read many late slave narratives about how they were left without much to work with, how there was so much resentment against them for merely surviving to be free when a country that had no plan for that and did not want it. Understand the United States only fought hard against the enslavement and the mistreatment of African Americans for 4 years. We call that the Civil War. That's it. The country's about to be 248 years old this year. 1776 to 244 this year. Roll that around in your mind for just a second, okay? Just roll it around in your mind for a second. That's the only time this country really put resources into our betterment. After that, it's been a lot of time was spent, and the country allowed it, state by state, and in different places, for us to be brought back to as close to slavery status as possible. Jim Crow, during that time period, did nothing as the same Confederates got back into office down south and took back everything that had been gained. The United States did nothing as a whole, did nothing. And if you look at private prisons, you will realize that slavery, by another name, shout out to Michelle Alexander, I think it's the new Jim Crow, but there's plenty of writing about this. It's still with us, and the country is just sitting here letting it be, because it's still profitable for a lot of people. Look up Core Civic. Find out what it does and what those dividends are. My point is, in order to remain free as black people, we have to take on a lot of responsibility to make things work, and without it, it will not happen. A lot of the reason why you see a lot of YouTubers who get a lot of views and are promoted and allowed to be on platforms long past the time that we know that they aren't talking anything that's going to do any good for anybody, particularly black men, is because the system is perfectly happy with black men not having the tools and freezing into attitudes that are going to make it so they have to be responsible. And the same is true of black women. Because once you become responsible for someone else in a country like ours, you belong to them. You belong to them. They tell you where to live, give you a voucher, tell you where to live, tell you where you're going to live, fix your income at a certain rate, threaten you to remove it before you're able to build up to anything else. You belong to them. So in order to maintain your freedom, you have to take on a high level of personal responsibility. And I know we get mad at Republicans for talking about personal responsibility. I get it. But unfortunately, it's a conversation that we need to have from the perspective of what does it take to maintain your freedom. Another video, a whole video would be worth talking about. Maintaining your freedom is the goal to just become like the people that you complain about. Or do we have to define freedom another way? Is the goal to become just as materialistic, just as money-focused, just as possession-focused, just as status-focused as the people we supposedly have to get our freedom from? Or is it something else? Freedom, responsibility, and maybe contentment is the third leg of this table. That's a whole different video. I'll do that next. All right, talk to y'all a little bit. Thank you for watching.